Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our show Beyond the Classroom with On Course Vantage. Today we have with us Yohan. Yohan is a rising junior at Tufts University. He's majoring in history and minoring in English and entrepreneurship. Yohan is someone who's always been very mature and independent, following his curiosities and passions. He's always been into news, current affairs, and politics. He's a big reader and big on debate and MUN, excellent public speaker. He's been very confident, knows his strengths and weaknesses, and always makes an impression and is not afraid to try out anything unusual. So, Johan, we're very excited to have you with us today.
Thanks, Radhika. That was a very kind introduction. And yes, thanks for having me.
Lovely, lovely. So, Johan, to get started, history is not a very popular major in college. Can you just take us through what made you pick it? What aspects of history are you most interested in?
So, I think that's a great question, and it's definitely one I get a lot, especially coming from home. And there's a few reasons for that. A big one is that in a liberal arts curriculum, you can major in one subject and study a lot of different things. So I tried to choose a major which I felt augmented my skills the most and kind of built up my personal passions more so than one which was maybe geared towards a specific career path because I wasn't sure where I wanted to go with that. And
Right.
history really fit the bill because I've always been passionate about it in like since middle school and the sort of education that you get in a college like Tufts within that kind of course is is really deep in its building of critical thinking and the skills it imbues in you to think originally, to come up with your own ideas, to write and research large amounts of content. I like make no mistake, I don't plan on taking a history major and turning it tomorrow into a very linear career path to do with history. But I feel like the skills that I'm learning right now in history, every time I finish a semester, I just feel so much more uh, intellectually capable at like generating content and at thinking of ideas. And that's what a lot of people realize in my experience once they come to a liberal arts curriculum is that the point of it is to build you intellectually more so than to try to give you skills like a trade school would. So yeah, that's why I chose history, and it's a choice I've been quite pleased with. I mean, I've already had some great classes at Tufts because of that.
That's so awesome. I really hope that more people are encouraged to think of, more of the social sciences and humanities as major options because of what you said, just a way of thinking and deepening your perspective and the way you ideate as opposed to, career skills, right? And it does seem like you're balancing out your passion for history with minors like entrepreneurship that are more career oriented, right? So tell us how you also went about picking your minors in college and how you, identified and explored these.
So I my initial plan was to double major in history and English, and that's still not out of the picture for now. I haven't declared English as a major because double majoring and doing a minor requires taking a lot of courses, and I need to do some catching up to get there.
Right.
But what led me to entrepreneurship is that's another thing that I've always had an interest in and I think that's kind of the theme here with this sort of curriculum is you do things that you enjoy, and I'm big on business and entrepreneurship. I'm the vice president of the entrepreneurship club at Tufts as well. And
Nice.
for your first question, I'd say that my history major is probably what pushed me towards entrepreneurship because a lot of the skills that I use in whether it's in entrepreneurship classes or as being a teaching assistant or being heavily involved with the ENT clubs
Right.
uh, is a lot of thinking and public speaking and problem solving, most of which my history major builds, honestly, even more so than the entrepreneurship minors. So it's something I took, again, not actually because I had a career opportunity or interest in it. If it does help me later on, that's great. But
Yeah.
it's really just more because I'm interested in it and because I have the freedom to explore all of these different avenues. And it's the same with English as well. My other minor is it's just um, it's just fun, honestly, to be able to just sign up for majors and minors and then be able to take these advanced level courses that you would never have done before because you're exposed to a very different kind of education when you do that.
Now, actually, let's rewind a little bit and come back to your application and profile building journey. I hear you had a very unique research project related to history. So, can you just tell us a little bit about how you went about coming up with that topic and researching and executing it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I remember, in fact, I'd worked on it with Amira and with the on-course over like quite a period of time. I got a lot of feedback and help on that.
Yeah,
So I had done a research project where I was researching a community near my our family house in Alibag
yeah.
of Beni Israeli Jewish people, which
Hmm.
I had never thought to look for before. For some context, it was just there was a small village community that was maybe 25 minutes from our house.
Yeah,
And while kind of driving and exploring one day, we had like stopped there, and I had seen that there were people who they were wearing multiple Jewish symbols
right.
in this small town in what was supposed to be a primarily Maharashtrian and Hindu area. And
Yeah.
you could even tell just kind of talking to like I tried to have a few conversations with people there and just talking to them that they were clearly part of like a diasporic community that had settled there rather than one that had been there for a while. And
Right.
in a remote place like Alibag,
Yeah.
that was unexpected. So that kind of piqued my curiosity. So I ended up going back and researching it a few times. I had read a lot of research papers on it. I spoke to a few people who are involved in the Israeli Jewish and the Beni Israeli communities. I had a really insightful conversation with Moshe Sheikh, for example, who runs Moshe's,
Hmm.
um, because he was very involved with them. And
So cool.
it yeah, and it just kind of snowballed from there. So that whole research process was one that started out of curiosity, and that I just took from there. And I think that that's also something which contributed eventually to me deciding to study history, is that I saw from an experience like that just how fun it can be when you remove the occasional, if I'm honest, constraints of a high school level history course where you have a specific syllabus and you maybe aren't pushed as much as you could be to really think originally. When you
True.
remove those bounds and you start exploring things independently, just how exciting history can be. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that was a great. I'm glad you asked about that, because that was definitely a bit of a keystone experience in building my love for history and for the liberal arts in general.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's such an important point. History is not just World War One, World War Two, what we study in our textbooks. You can localize it and personalize it so much. Like I remember when I started going for heritage walks around Bombay, that was a very similar experience for me, where I like could deeply understand the history of my own city, and that made it so much more interesting for me. Like I wanted to go and read like so many more history books to like understand it, because it was such a more personal perspective and excitement to study history. So I think that makes a lot of sense, right? Now you also had one of the best common app essays I think we've read at on course. It's one that everyone on the team really likes, just because of how unique it is, and how it actually touches on a few nights of your life, but it like so deeply showcases who you are as a person, right? So of course, it was titled Confucius and Cutlery. But tell us, how you went about coming up with this idea, and for you, what that essay represents about you.
Yeah, of course. And it's nice hearing that, because it's been years since I wrote the essay, so it's nice to hear about it again. So the kind of the real avenue that led me to that essay is I went through a lot of drafts of the Common App essay. That was, I think I had probably gone through months and dozens of drafts before I even got to that idea, let alone that essay.
Yeah,
And I knew from the beginning, after trying to write a few essays, that it needed to be about me. And
right,
a few things about me are that um, I happen to be confident in myself, but I don't want to take myself too seriously, and I didn't want to write something which was portending a sense of depth or emotion that didn't need to be there. I
right.
wanted it to be honest, and so I remember, in fact, I was talking to Amira about kind of struggles that I had potentially overcome,
Yeah,
and lacking examples at one point, and I remember just jokingly thinking after the call, like the learning how to use chopsticks. That was kind of embarrassing. I don't know why I was so bad with them. I had been eating Japanese food since I was a kid, but for some reason I just couldn't grasp chopsticks properly. Maybe it has something to do with my handwriting, like who knows. But that kind of it kind of led me down that path where I started thinking, talking about this is so much more honest for me.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that struck me about the Common App and about college applications in general is just be yourself. And what that essay really shows about me is, and wow, it's been so long since I wrote it, but I wrote a lot in that the chopsticks were a vessel for
Yeah.
talking about my love for learning, about my need to try to improve myself, and
Mhm.
ultimately about my acceptance of my own weaknesses, no matter how large or how silly and petty and minute they might be. And that the process of writing that essay was a great instance of personal, uh, not to sound a bit dramatic, but it was a matter of personal therapy to write about your weaknesses and about the little things that make you who you are. And so, really, that essay, as cliche as this sounds and as obvious as this is to anyone who's read it, it's really got nothing to do with chopsticks. It's about kind of using little parts of my life to understand who I am. And um, the great thing about college is that as you become an adult, you continue to do that. And you maybe if I look back and rewrote that essay, I'd have different things to say about myself because you just
Yeah.
keep growing. But the essay was it was a great experience to write it, and it was very fun to write.
Yeah, and it shows because you can't read that essay and not have a smile on your face because it's like you said, it's just like it's so reflective of you and your funny approach and just like your love for philosophy that you've ingrained in there. So it's like deep without meaning to be deep. So yeah, yeah. So very very successful essay, and I hope that people are more inspired to just pick out on these small instances and then turn them into something big with their essays as well. Yeah, so actually now let's come back to Tufts. You did talk about being involved with the entrepreneurship club, but can you also take us through, other opportunities that you're engaged with on campus and the resources that Tufts has given to you to turn, your entrepreneurial ideas into reality? So just tell us a little bit more about these aspects.
Right. No, absolutely. So yeah, as you pointed out, what I'm most involved with is we call it Jumbo Ventures. It's
Yeah.
a club that runs a small student-led entrepreneurship incubator.
Okay.
And what we do is we kind of have speakers. We bring in speakers every week, and we have everyone. We have a lot of our members come up with product ideas. They pitch them
Hmm.
at the end of the semester, and the winner actually gets a cash prize to work on their idea. So we've been working on this for a while. It's a relatively new club, but actually this year we won New Student Organization of the Year at Tufts.
Oh,
We beat out some 110 clubs to get there. So that
that's
was
super.
quite. Yeah, no, thank you. That was took a lot of effort. But besides that, I'm on the board of the Model UN club and team at Tufts. It's something I did a lot in high school and hence continued in college. Uh, and I was involved with the debate club for a while. I traveled to a few debate competitions and then judged one as well. And and then beyond that, I mean, everyone's involved with their local culture club or with little things like that,
Yeah.
which is really just ways to keep yourself as a freshman to keep meeting new people. I mean, I remember I had joined the History Society for a while, and it was a great way to just meet people. Honestly, it was more fun than anything. And yeah, I mean, I'm involved. I have my toes in a lot of different places, and I'm trying to remove some of those and go deep into the few that really matter to me.
Yep.
And I have some more stuff going on off campus as well. But as a whole, that's really what I do at Tufts. So it's a mix of like clubs that I feel like are building me professionally and academically, and just things that I do for fun. The one rule that I set for myself though is that maybe this would mean that I would compromise on some sort of opportunity at some point. But if I don't enjoy it or love it enough to kind of get out and go every week and feel like I'm pushing myself there or I'm making the most of it, I usually don't do it, or I leave these clubs pretty quickly. The
Yeah.
way Tufts works, they encourage you to join a lot of clubs
Hmm.
from like day one. see what you like, see what you don't like, and then kind of pare things down. And that's what I've done by identifying what I really resonate with.
I think touching on what you mentioned over there in terms of like cross school activities and even being involved beyond Tufts, Boston of course is super popular as a college town that has many big schools around that sort of act like a de facto consortium. So tell us how you've engaged with other schools across Boston and what sort of activities you've done there.
Right, no, for sure. So some of this is linked to Jumbo Ventures. There's a lot
Yeah,
of conferences that happen at MIT and Harvard and at Boston University, which are these collegiate, intercollegiate conferences for entrepreneurs and people interested in entrepreneurship, where people just come and network, and there are speakers. And Tufts is getting more involved with those sorts of things. So I go for a couple of those a semester and just try to meet people. We do a demo day for Jumbo Ventures, as they do in like organizations like Techstars. And
yeah.
so we go to events like that and sometimes even invite people from other colleges to come watch. So I do a lot of that. And then I'm also involved with this is more of like a niche thing, but as part of my parents' YPO membership, I'm involved with YNG. So I'm the chair of YNG Boston, and there's a lot of events that we do as part of that as well. So there's a lot going on outside Tufts within Boston. And once you get to college, I think as soon as you're settled in whatever college you're in that ecosystem, the best thing you can do for yourself is very early on just start going for these events and start meeting people. I mean, I was probably 6 months into freshman year, and I was trying to like check off all of these events, and like I made a lot of new friends and new connections because of that. And so I definitely say that's the great part about Boston is you can just keep meeting new people.
Yeah, yeah. I think you've really leveraged your time so far in college so well just by being so engaged outside of the classroom and doing so many things and pushing yourself in terms of, like really maximizing on these opportunities. Yeah, coming back to your life at Tufts, can you take us through a day in your life?
Yeah, no, for sure. And you'll find that my schedule is a little unconventional. So I
Okay.
do a lot of afternoon and evening classes. I have 2 or 3 days where my classes end around 9 p.m. and then I have like club meetings till 11 p.m.
Okay.
So usually what I do actually is I wake up around like 8,
Mhm.
and I have an off-campus gym membership because I love doing little activities off campus to get my own space. So I wake
Yeah.
up in the morning and I actually usually drive into Boston, like 25 minutes away to the gym,
Nice.
work out there, and then stay on in a cafe or something
Yeah.
with my laptop and do like 4 or 5 hours of work.
Hmm.
And just if I've got club meetings or meetings with professors or anything, I'll schedule it through the day and do the bulk of my work like by afternoon. Then I
Right.
usually drive back to campus and do classes through the evening and night, and then do a little bit more work in the night. That's usually what a weekday looks like. I try to like keep a lot of time to do things for myself and to have fun. But at the same time, when you're involved with a lot of stuff, it's nice to be productive so that you can enjoy your weekend a little more. And
Yeah.
then most weekends, I usually spend the day in Boston and just do a lot of work from there or just hang out with friends. During the semester, I do a lot of day trips to places. I've driven, I think, now all over the East Coast. I must have been to like driven like Maine, New Hampshire, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey. Like I've been all over. So
That's awesome.
that's usually what I do on my weekends.
Yeah, yeah. I think that gives us a really good sense of, what's possible and accessible from Tufts. Because, yeah, it's a 15-minute T ride, but also if you get a car, you could do so much more as you are. So, coming back to this jumbo factor, right? Because we have so many students now interested in applying to Tufts, right? And it's always something that we can't really put our finger on in terms of like who really fits into the Tufts community, because it does have such a peculiar sense of like shared values and who who belongs. So now that you have spent 2 years there, can you tell us a little bit about who you think fits well into the jumbo community?
I think yeah, that's a really great question. And everyone's mileage will vary. My experience has been that the people who fit into Tufts the most are the ones who are the most open-minded.
Mm,
And when I say open-minded, I mean open-minded to explore things and try a lot of new activities. Uh, Usually, most people at Tufts have a really great time there. I think if you ask a lot of people, most of the people I asked and most of the seniors I spoke to before I applied,
Yeah.
people usually have a lot of positive things to say about the atmosphere at Tufts specifically. It's a very friendly, very kind and fun atmosphere to be in. But the
Mhm.
people who make the most of it and hence have the best time in college are the ones who are constantly looking beyond what they're studying and what they're doing and trying to see ways to find new hobbies or to improve themselves or to even meet new people and new friends. Um, a lot of my friends who say came from certain cities or from certain schools um, have diversified and met a lot of new people that they wouldn't have met otherwise. And I find that they and I seem to be feeling a lot more fulfilled with just going out and exploring. So Tufts is definitely for people who want to kind of delve into the college experience and go like deep into having a college atmosphere and building a lot of school spirit and meeting a lot of people around you, because it's one of those places where you get what you give, and
Yeah.
so the more time and energy you invest in that outside of just doing the motions of going to class, getting grades, and kind of going home, the more you do that, the more you seem to get a lot of value personally and academically.
But now that we've got some of the serious questions out of the way, let's actually get to a little bit more of a fun segment. So we're going to do some rapid fire questions now. So you just let us know the very first thing that comes to mind. Okay, so the first one is, what's your favorite tradition at Tufts?
So every winter on the first day that it snows, we have a lawn called President's Lawn, and it's like it's got a lot of inclines. And when it starts snowing, it's a tradition that everyone takes like cardboard boxes and trays from the cafeteria and things like that, and then goes sledding down the hill. So that was a fun tradition. The first time I did that, I had never done it before, so I never actually made it down the hill. I just fell a few times and injured myself. But the second time was better.
That's really funny. Okay, favorite food at a Tufts dining hall?
Hmm. They've got good grilled chicken, especially if you're trying to bulk.
All right, good. And now that you mentioned that you go work out of Boston cafes and restaurants a lot, what's your favorite Boston cafe to work out of?
Oh, I do a lot of work out of Tate's. There's like 100 of them in Boston. They've got free Wi-Fi. They are pretty comfortable to work in, and they're open at like good hours. You can spend a lot of time there and just keep getting like coffees and snacks and stuff through the day. So I do a lot of work out of there, and then my gym has a cafe as well. So I usually move between the two.
That's convenient. Okay, hardest class you've taken in college?
Oof. Well, the hardest class for me was Intro to Computer Science because it's something that I had never done. I'm not ashamed to say that I did not do a good job in that class at all. I had to pass, fail, and then drop it. But that's the hardest class I've done. And the hardest class that I've done and then actually managed to do something with is I did a history class this semester on Alexander the Great. And it was kind of a seminar based course. So a lot of writing. And we had these like 8-page papers due and then a 15 to 20-page paper to finish the semester. So just constant writing and discussion posts and reading all the time. Even for a history major, it was a lot. But definitely one of the best classes I've ever done.
Yeah, that sounds really fulfilling. Okay, this is a question that's just really for you, but the most existential conversation you've had with your person in college?
I think, and this one is actually a little shallower than sometimes I've had, but the most valuable one is I've had some great conversations with friends about what I'm actually looking for out of college. Uh, if you're going to a liberal arts college and you aren't sure what you want to explore yet, what do you do to make the most out of it? And yeah, I've had some pretty deep conversations about what I'm actually trying to do to fulfill myself, and I've realized that my answer is just every day or every week finding like one small way to improve myself or learn a new skill or explore a hobby a little deeper and just kind of keep building around myself.
Nice, nice. That's really wonderful. Okay, something new that you've tried at college?
Ooh, it's a good question. Well, does it have to be at college or since I came to college?
Since you came to college, sure.
Right. I drove on a racetrack. That was very fun. I took my car like across Massachusetts, like 3 hours away at 5 in the morning, and I drove all day on a racetrack. Never done that before, and probably the most one of the most fun days of my life.
Yeah, that sounds super amazing. Okay, three things we'll find in your dorm room.
So, my PlayStation and monitor, because that's how I
Mhm.
unwind. Uh, in my refrigerator, a big line of hot sauces and chili powders because I need spice and a lot of food that doesn't have it, especially
Yep.
food on campus.
Yep.
Um, and then uh, and then beyond that, like I've got this constant stack of granola bars
Mm.
and oat things and whatever I can accumulate, which gives me energy before the gym. So it's a very simple life actually. I just wake up, have one of those,
And
go
then head.
somewhere else, and yeah, I really don't do a lot beyond that in my dorm room. I find that I don't spend a lot of time in my dorm room actually. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't say there's a lot of homely possessions. And a little extra I'll add is that I love smart IoT devices and lighting. So you'll find a lot of very silly, over the top LED strip lights and like echoes and home pods and stuff all over the place. Just the room's always talking to me. So
That is a really fancy dorm room to begin with. And my second thought is that you obviously did not experience freshman 15 because you seem to have a very healthy life at college. So I'm proud of you.
Actually, no. I had my freshman 15. This is I had my freshman 15 and then some. Sophomore year was just me. A big part of sophomore year and like a big priority for me was my health. So that's something that I've reeled back now. I was not
Ah,
in control of my health freshman year.
that's so that shows the maturity through the 3 years at college that now you've like morphed a healthier lifestyle. Okay, how many countries do you have friends from at Tufts?
Wow. Where do I begin? It's got to be at least like 20 something, at the minimum. There's because people from I have friends from all over European countries. A lot of friends, most of my friends are from like Southeast and East Asian countries beyond just India. Like I've got a lot of friends from like uh, China, Japan, Korea, Malaysia. My girlfriend's Indonesian. Like I've got like a whole like mix, and then
Wow.
a lot of American and I've got like one or two Canadian friends as well. So yeah, 20 I think is probably a good number.
Yeah, that makes sense. Tufts is super diverse, so your experience reflects that. All right, and as a journalist, who would be the one person you'd want to write about? I mean, not even as a journalist, but as an English minor and someone who enjoys writing. Yeah.
Wow, the one person I'd want to interview. I've been reading a lot of entrepreneurs' biographies and autobiographies, and so as much as he's a very controversial character, I'd love to like get it a bit deeper into the mind of Elon Musk and kind of at an intellectual level understand what's going on and
Yeah.
talk. Yeah.
I think people would love to read that because everyone wants to know what's going on in Elon's head. All right, a history book that you would recommend everyone read.
Oh, that's a great question. There's like a few that I'm reading one right now called Winters in the World, which is about Anglo-Saxon history, and it's really wonderful. As for one that I recommend everyone reads, there's I would probably before getting into any history at all, I'd probably start by reading some books about another book that I'm reading right now, Thinking Fast and Slow by Kahneman.
Hmm.
Nothing to do with history, but books like that, which kind of tell you how people think, are a great springboard to start before you choose a history book about a period that you enjoy and that you care about.
Yeah, yeah, that's great advice. And lastly, your winter survival tip.
This is going to sound very cliche, but just layer. Everyone says it and feels like nobody, including myself, listens until they actually get cold. But you have to layer. And that doesn't mean getting a very thick winter jacket. It means just wearing a bunch of stuff. Um, and mornings are very cold. Getting out of bed is very hard. If you're in a spring semester and you know it's going to get cold, do not take 8 a.m. classes because you're not going to make it out of bed and go to class when it's like freezing outside and when you're shivering when you get up. You're just not going to go to class. So don't take morning classes.
Yeah, wise words. Confucius would be proud. All right. So to wrap up the show now, just if you to reflect on your entire journey 3 years ago of like working on your applications and applying to college, what advice would you want to give to everyone who's about to go through that entire process and experience?
So I have a lot of advice on that, but I also feel like I received a lot of advice when I was working on it. And what it ultimately taught me is that it's very personal. So the biggest thing I'd say that helped me a lot when I would get a little carried away with it is it's important to remember that regardless of where you end up, what you do there is what actually matters. I say that at a college which I really wanted to go to, which I've
Yeah.
managed to make it to, and where, I've seen people around me put in, if I can be candid about it, very disparate amounts of effort since they came here. And for everyone, it was either their dream school or one of their top schools. And then a lot of people get here and do different things with that. And then similarly, I have a lot of friends in a lot of different colleges, and I have friends who are in the same college, but their experiences are different based on how much they invest into that time. So I would really say, if you're very concerned about getting to the right college, if you're the right person about it and you get the right experience, the college is just whatever will get you there. I'm sure that if I hadn't gone to Tufts and if I had gone to one of all of the other colleges that I was applying to at various levels of rankings and acceptance rates and all of that really doesn't matter in the long term. If I would have made a way to find myself there, because it's really about pushing yourself. It's not about the college you go to. And also just relax and have fun, because it gets very stressful to apply to college and it can get overwhelming at times.
Yeah, yeah, that's great advice, and I absolutely agree with it. So yeah, that brings us to the end of our show, Yohan. It's always so great chatting with you, and thank you for making time to do this with us.
Yeah, no, of course. I'm so glad you guys had me. And it was so nice hearing from OnCourse again, because it really, when I was applying to college, OnCourse and specifically Amira really helped me with not just my application, but with just mentally kind of um, keeping sane and keeping my eyes focused on like whatever goals I was setting. So it's always nice to reconnect.
Yeah, absolutely. The pleasure is all ours. Thank you, Johan, and thank you for everyone for tuning in.